I touched his shoulder, but he jerked away. I sighed. And priest, made you hurt less? Yes, but he's gone. He screwed up his eyes and hissed softly in pain. I don't know what I thought. I thought for a while maybe I could do some good, get through it, be like you. But he turned his face away. We went to Hippocampic. I wanted revenge, but I also wanted to stop hurting. You were staying with me because you thought I'd get you killed. I murmured softly, feeling a cold and hollow once more. I hadn't felt this way in a long time. He sniffled and nodded. With all the shit you attract, I figured something would get us sooner or later. But you just kept on throwing yourself into the meat grinder, over and over. They nailed your legs to the floor and we cut them off you, and you still... Goddess Blackjack, how do you keep going? He asked as he looked up at me in anguish. And then you died, and I was alive. And all I wanted was to swap places with you. He laughed brokenly. You know what I thought when I saw Dusty die? Damn. Lucky mare. I sighed, leaning down and stroking his mane gently. Everything hurts, Blackjack. Everything. I was so sure that the hurting would stop in that damned laboratory. A shot, a turret, that goop. I just wanted something to kill me, so that you could go on and save every pony. Something. But somehow, you saved us all. Again. Because that's what you do. He closed his eyes again. Please don't save me. Just, please leave me here. I'm so sick of hurting. So damn sick of everything. I looked down at my friend and stroked his mane. I had no idea what to do. No idea at all, except... Hush now, quiet now, it's time to lay your sleepy head. No, I save ponies. I don't kill them. But, how do I save P21? I'm sorry, P21. I don't know how I can take the pain away, I said quietly. I don't hurt. I'm not exactly sure if I'm a pony anymore. Maybe somewhere back in 10 Pony, whatever part of me was a pony got cut away and replaced by a talisman or a pump or something. I don't know how a pony is supposed to feel anymore. I get shot and it doesn't feel the same anymore. I remember the first time I got shot. Now, nothing feels right. I remembered quietly. I eat metal and rocks now. I have little bars telling me how much energy I have left. I closed my eyes. Maybe the reason I'm not affected by innervation is because I'm really a robot. Just one with more fleshy bits than your average Ultra Sentinel. He shifted and looked up at me. But right now, Glory is doing the transplant to try and save Scotch's Tape's life. And even with the organs, she might not pull through. I sighed, stroking his mane. I know what it's like to hate yourself. I know what it's like to want to end the pain. I do. I know how it feels to be violated and just want it to be over. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. I'd been on the mattress before, the very place he was now. I took a deep breath. If you lie here like this, and don't go to her, and she lives, then she isn't your daughter. One way or another she'll get past this. Maybe you won't. But I guarantee that if you stay here like this, right now, and she dies, then you'll be just as dead as if we left you back in the arena. There are some things you never forgive yourself for. I closed my eyes. Either way, I'm not going to leave you here just waiting for the pain to come back, because it will. Lying here causes the pain. He lay there and kept his eyes closed for the longest time. I knew that chems and his own self-loathing were keeping him there. I could have dragged him out easily, But it didn't matter. The mattress he was stuck on would have been any place that I took him to. Only he could get off it. And I didn't know what we'd do if he didn't. Then he shifted a little, rolled over and put his hooves beneath him. Slowly he rose, and I put a hoof out to steady him. I sniffed as he took one step out of the tub, then another, then stepped free. "Why do I keep on following you, Blackjack?" he murmured as he slumped against me. "Why do you think that I can be a better pony? More than a trick pony?" "Because you can. I can see it. Duct tape could too," I replied with a small smile. "Now, I think there's a waiting room thingy near the operating room. We can go there and, wait." He missed the obvious opportunity to point out my obviousness, just ducking his head and focusing on walking without falling down. We reached the waiting room. He took a seat and closed his eyes. I took out my magic primer and stretched out on the couch. Concentrating on turning the pages took my mind off Scotch, but not off P21. I didn't know anything about drug addiction. Gloria tried to talk to me about it, but to me it was more of a chems do damage to your body, so they're bad type deal. I never thought of them changing the way a pony thought and acted. They were supposed to be pop some fixer and you were good. Had P21 really been in pain for so long? Was it really a real pain from like an injury or something in his head? This sounded a whole lot too serious for just a fixer or two. Boo slowly crept into view. I smiled and talked softly until she came over and to get a main rub. I fished out a slightly smushed fancy butt cake and she ate it happily. I tried to keep my mind off the question I couldn't answer by flipping through the primer. I was getting through the basic telekinesis practice spells. I practiced lifting and lowering duty and sacrifice. The revolvers were heavier than vigilance. Theoretically, I should have been able to use a half-dozen pistols with my magic, but in reality it was far easier to float an object than to aim and fire. Your brain literally had to judge and juggle from one weapon to the other to use them all if you were going to do more than just fire blindly. Duty and sacrifice were different, though. I lifted and aimed both of them with little difficulty. The intricate scroll work on the 5-cylinder cycles depicted magical flames. I practiced working them in unison, pulling the trigger simultaneously at an imaginary target. Then I practiced my little light spell, because for the first time in my life I could actually do magic. Boo watched the little floaty mote warily, then when it came near, tried to eat it. I smiled as she made an icky face, before magic was something other unicorns did. Other unicorns were better than me, and I always assumed that was that. I was a screw-up, unable to perform the most basic magic, beyond simple telekinesis. My magic bullet spell had been the first time I'd done more, and even that was a sort of still telekinesis. But now I had a light spell. It made me wonder what other magic I was capable of. I thought about Lacuna's shield spell. Wouldn't that be useful, given the amount of fire I saw regularly? Or a healing spell. Okay, maybe that was a bit much. I wasn't sure if a healing spell would even work on me. Maybe I needed a repair spell? Or both? "Hey, P21, want to throw some books at me?" He blinked, frowning a little in confusion. "Come on, I want to see if I can figure out how to do Lacuna's barrier thingy." I grinned and gestured right at the end of my snout. "Come on, you can't make my face any worse than it already has. So give it your best shot." You know, for having 3 doses of Med-X in him, he could really throw the waiting room magazines and books really hard. After 2 dozen, I had a bloody nose and a ringing headache and wasn't any closer to making a magical barrier. Maybe I could talk to Lacuna about it. Before, though, I would have just given up. Blackjack is a screw-up. Blackjack can't learn. But now I knew magic was more than just my inability. Of course, I had to get pummeled with a half-dozen more books before I finally got P21 to stop throwing them. Okay, clearly the whole magic shield thing is a little more complicated than just imagining a wall or something, I said as I rubbed my horn. Well, if you ever need more books thrown at your head, I'm sure you won't have any lack of volunteers, he replied with a small smile. You know, I've got to wonder, how do you make those shots with your grenade launcher? I asked as I looked at Persuasion on his hip. I mean, I know it takes a lot of skill. I don't know. I suppose it's a earth pony thing, he replied with a shrug, looking at the door to the operating room. I can't do magic or fly, but say I need to get something somewhere. I know just how hard and how I need to kick it to get it where it needs to go. Oh yeah? Prove it. Put a magazine on each of those 3 seats there, I said as I pointed across the waiting room. He looked at me flatly and reached over, bit 3 magazines, and tossed one after the next onto all 3 seats. I frowned sourly. Okay. Do it again. And so he did. And 3 pre-war books landed on each stack. Yeah? Well, I can do magic. He stood, walked slowly towards a garbage can in the corner, and pulled out a tin can. Then he looked at me and kicked the can hard. It bounced off the wall, and I ducked as it whizzed past my head. Ha! I laughed and pointed a hoof at him. Then I heard a ping behind me and a ting above me, and felt the odd sensation of the can landing squarely on my horn. I looked at him and his sad little smile, levitated it off my horn, put it in my mouth, and started chewing without taking my eyes off of him. Touché, he replied as he took a seat. He closed his eyes for a moment. How do you do it, Blackjack? How do you keep on being you? No pony else is dumb enough to take the job, I replied with a chuckle and a shrug. I mean, really, the uniform's nice, don't get me wrong, but I think I have something explode on me or near me on a daily basis. Any pony with 2 brain cells knows that it's not worth it. I grinned at him. I expect I'll figure it out in a month or 2. If I was alive, that is. That's what I mean. He closed his eyes and shook his head. You helped Sanguine. Even after everything he did, you helped him. I opened my mouth, but he quickly added, I'm not saying you were wrong, even if I think you were. It's just, you do things that are amazing. You laugh and joke, and you just keep coming back for more. Not always, I said, feeling myself. Wait, was I blushing? Thank goodness, he replied as he closed his eyes. You know, after Priest, when you were on your bed like that, I have to admit, part of me was relieved. Relieved I screwed up. I asked with a frown. Relieved you could mess up. Following you hasn't been easy at all. But it's been a heck of a show. You're so good. You are. You try so hard to be good that... I'm not a good pony, I replied firmly, looking away. Wow, maybe my face was too cooked to blush. I want to be. I try.